Hi there, my name is Hunter Brown. I will be presenting my research and findings on fartlek training. I found that I had a gap in my knowledge of prescribing fartlek training through previous case studies and programs I had written revolving around building the cardiovascular systems. To fill this gap and continue my personal development, I conducted research into what is fartlek training, the benefits of it, and how it can be implemented into training programs from the everyday client to an elite athlete. Fartlek, which means speed play in Swedish, is a training method that blends continuous training with interval training. Fartlek is a very simple form of long distance running. It can be defined as periods of fast running intermixed with periods of slower running. Fartlek training involves varying your pace during training, alternating between fast segments and slower segments during your run. Unlike interval training, which is very structured in its work and rest times, fartlek training is much more dependent on how the individual is feeling, and work-rest ratios can be based on how the individual is feeling that day rather than a specific set ratio. The variability of the intensities and continuity of its places large amount of stress on both the aerobic and anaerobic systems, allowing for a more complete and well-rounded energy system workout, and when prescribed correctly, utilizing all three bioenergetic systems. Moreover, it can be changed and suited to every individual as there is no set way to do it. The slow segments could be anything from a slow walk up to a comfortable jog. The fast segments could be anywhere from a jog to an all-out sprint. This variability allows for any individual to partake in this specific training, allowing for something new to be added to their training to keep them engaged or to unlock unrealized potential in an athlete. When looking at running fartlek training has numerous benefits, not only physiologically, but also if you are looking to compete in races. On a physiological level, some of the benefits that can be seen are muscular endurance. In a study by Dr. A. Palasamy, he found that in his trials of fartlek training, it was conclusive that all participants that were involved showcased greater muscular endurance. Furthermore, another physiological advantage that fartlek training gives you is that it trains both muscle fibers. Our muscles contain two variations of muscle fibers, slow twitch and fast twitch. Slow twitch muscle fibers are, as the name suggests, slow in firing. They are higher in endurance, offering extended muscle contraction, with their main fuel source being oxygen. With this makeup, they are excellent for marathon runners. On the other hand, fast twitch muscle fibers are again, as the name suggests, fast firing fibers. They are excellent at providing short bursts of speed. However, they deplete energy very quickly as their fuel source is anaerobic metabolism. With this makeup, they are excellent for sprinters. As fartlek training is the variation in speed throughout your run, it requires the use of both muscle fibers. This allows for them both to be worked and trained, making your body much better at adapting to any situation, whether that be in a sporting sense or in an everyday life sense. In addition to this, fartlek training also works the body's lactate threshold. The lactate threshold is the point where the body does not have enough oxygen to fight off the lactic acid buildup in the muscles. By building a higher lactate threshold, the body can operate more efficiently for a longer period of time. Furthermore, this high production of lactic acid occurs during the fast segments of the run. However, when the client goes into their slower segments, the byproduct of lactic acid, lactate, is left over and can be used as a fuel source. This process is known as the lactate shuttle. Another huge benefit of fartlek training is its adaptability and flexibility. With it being so adaptable, it can be picked up by even the most novice of runners, all the way up to professional athletes. The training sessions can be adapted to suit any person's needs and abilities, starting from a low intensity and gradually building, or a high intensity session from the start. It also allows for time constraints. The training session can be strung out for over an hour, or even shortened to a quick 30-minute session. This gives the individual the ability to either take a leisurely run or push themselves to the limit. It allows all people to incorporate it into their lives, either for a bit of a change to freshen things up or to get an edge in their training to prepare them for an upcoming race. This style of training is extremely beneficial to competitors as it can be incorporated into any section of their training. It can either be quite slowly to get them started in their training, It can be at the height of their training to push themselves to get an idea of where they're at, or even as a taper towards the end of their training before the big race. Fartlek's versatility, adaptability, and flexibility means it is useful and beneficial for all people. When implementing fartlek training into a client's program, there are some things to be aware of. Whilst it is a very good method to get fit, when introducing to beginner runners, you must be careful, as it is very easy for a client to injure themselves. Due to the sporadic nature of the exercise, it can be easy for a beginner to injure themselves when transitioning from a slow segment to a fast segment. When introducing fast segments into a run for a beginner, it increases the risk of injury, as they do not have the fitness to maintain correct running technique. In addition to this, when prescribing fartlek training, the element of creativity must be taken into account. If you're working with an experienced client and they're aware of their own strengths and weaknesses, then leaving the specific run programming to them would be okay, as they can base it on how they are feeling. However, when you're working with a fit client but has little experience in fartlek training, you as a professional must be creative and make a program that is suitable to them, because if it is left to an inexperienced client, injuries will occur. Due to the flexibility and adaptability of fartlek training, there are many different ways to prescribe it. Some of the most common are setting a fixed distance for the fast segment, in where you can either set a specific distance or from one landmark to another. Setting a fixed time for the fast segment, in which you can set a specific amount of time or for one song the client is listening to. Varying the distance/time for the fast segment, in which each fast segment of the run, either distance or time, changes. Finally, varying the pace for both the fast and slow segments. In regard to prescription, the possibilities are near endless, as it is only limited by your imagination, the client's goals, and their current ability level. Fartlek training is not just specific to running training, as it incorporates consistent bouts of anaerobic sprints with aerobic recovery periods. Various different sports fall under the category of their players required to do this. Again, due to the nature of fartlek training, it can be adapted to suit any sport if prescribed correctly. Some of the most common sports that see the most benefit from this kind of training are soccer, rugby, basketball, and tennis players. All these sports are high-endurance games with periods of short, explosive movements. By incorporating fartlek training in their pre-season and even in-season training, it allows for the players to train as they play, so these kinds of movements and energy usage will not be foreign to them. Fartlek can also be used and individualized to each player, as it can be adapted to target weight loss, top-end speed, and even high levels of fitness. Overall, fartlek training is a training method that blends continuous training with interval training by incorporating periods of fast-paced segments with slower segments. It allows all three bioenergetic systems to be utilized and trained. It's an extremely adaptable and flexible training method that can be suited to any individual, no matter their goals or ability levels. This makes it an extremely enticing training method for athletes, as it can be designed to target a range of attributes, such as weight loss, high-end speed, and high-level endurance. This is effective for not only casual clients looking to get fit, but even high-level athletes from a wide variety of sports and disciplines. This slide contains the various references of the research I underwent when building this presentation. I was aware when going into this research that fartlek was a well-known and effective method for improving cardiovascular endurance. Yet through my research, I found that it is much more effective than I was aware. I also learned how adaptable and specific the training can become, ranging from a novice beginner all the way to specifically targeting high-end speed for a specific sport. This research has enabled me to be a more well-rounded programmer, being able to prescribe fartlek to a wide range of clients, from the general population trying to become fitter to an elite athlete trying to gain that extra 1% over their competitors. Hopefully this presentation has educated and informed others in the effectiveness of fartlek training.